Jimmy Kimmel's a really, really interesting case because every time I see anything from Jimmy Kimmel, even stuff that people are like, oh, Jimmy Kimmel slayed this, it's not funny. It's sort of like Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah's not funny. Jimmy Kimmel like lost whatever he had in the early 2000s. He lost it. And it's so weird that Jimmy Kimmel is a pinko because like he had this thing called The Man Show with Adam Carolla, and it was super misogynistic and silly. It's funny. It was all done in good humor, but they like would bring girls out and like basically trash them and call them ugly or like butterfaces and stuff like that, which is just horrible when you think about it. And yet the left will defend him simply because he expresses beliefs that they agree in. They have no idea. They have like no, the forgiveness extends infinitely for those who are of the true faith, and it is zero for people who aren't. So that's Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel falls into what I call the Janine Garofalo trap. For those of you who really like stand-up comedy, there's a comedian named Janine Garofalo. She was kind of big in the early 2000s, and she definitely was a well-known comic even in the 1990s. I thought in the 90s she had some pretty good bits, and I thought her act was pretty good. I thought she had some good jokes. In the 2000s, though, I remember watching a whole special of hers, maybe on Comedy Central or something. There were no jokes. It was a comedy special without jokes. There were no setups. It was her basically calling George W. Bush a Nazi monkey for like 45 minutes, and people were laughing at it. Now, I didn't find those jokes funny, even though I didn't really like George W. Bush at the time, and I like him probably less now, but it was like, these aren't jokes. Why are people laughing at them? And so the laughter comes from the context of the show. You're at a comedy show, somebody says something you agree with, something that you like, even though it's not funny, you laugh as a response because of the context of it. There's nothing absurd about what she said. There's nothing comical or ironic or interesting even. It's just boring. It's the same shit that you would see on ABC News, but she's sitting on a chair and she has a microphone and there's an audience with people drinking drinks or whatever it is, right? She's at a comedy club. So it was really not funny, but she probably didn't perceive that she had lost it, that she wasn't funny anymore, that she wasn't telling good jokes anymore, because that's the confirmation there. So Jimmy Kimmel, I think, fell into that trap where if you're performing exclusively to like a Los Angeles audience, you lose track of what's funny. You're in a bubble. And that bubble is just confirming, through process of elimination, it's continually confirming certain things that you're doing. And those things aren't effective outside that bubble. And so that's what he did, is that he just would tell a bunch of gay, lame jokes that weren't funny, or just say political things and people would cheer in response. And that made him feel good, I'm sure. And maybe the dozen or so people that still watch Jimmy Kimmel would also feel good because he said something they agree with, but it's not funny and it's not entertaining even, right? Like, watching someone get kicked in the balls could be entertaining and funny. But that's both of those would be more entertaining and more funny and darker, really, than and not as dark as what he did with Charlie Kirk. Not as dark, right? To just have someone get kicked in the balls, like that really sucks getting kicked in the balls. But to come out and like smear a dead man and try to blame him for his own death, and blame the opposite party that didn't do it, the party of not shooting people, is just insane. It's just insane to me. So let me move on to the next comment, which is cancel culture. Now I wrote an article on this. I could probably look it up. Here's the gist. And I think I did a video on this. In an anarchic system, peace only occurs through symmetry of risk. So we could look at cancel culture and whether we hire or fire people based on their political speech as in the realm of anarchy. There's no ruler over it. The government is not saying you can't fire someone over this, or the government's not regulating what you can do. There's no ruler in this case. So the symmetry of risk comes from, our side, let's say the conservative side. Conservative side has been getting canceled for jokes and nothing, or just having political opinions for 10 years, where they lose everything. Lots of people have lost their jobs, their careers. They've lost everything because of political opinions. So having it go the other way is actually necessary and good, because just because you say, wait, you guys, we shouldn't, people should be allowed to have political opinions and shouldn't lose their job over it. Shut up, fascist! Shut up! You should be fucking killed! Okay, I don't agree with that, right? So, if you don't have any consequence to that, then you just have unilateral free speech for just one side. One side gets to say whatever they want. They get to call for as much violence as they want. And the other side can't do anything about it because my principles are about free speech. No, free speech happens when we both agree not to do that, because we're in the realm of anarchy when it comes to what we're talking about with cancel culture. Just like how I'm against shooting people. I don't think you should shoot and kill people. If someone breaks into my house, I will shoot and kill them because they're going to shoot and kill me. Okay. There are contexts to actions which change the morality of those actions pretty significantly. Right. And it's the same thing with guns, right? You don't have to be, you're not pro-killing when somebody invades your country and you shoot the soldiers on the other side. You're not pro-killing. You are pro-survival for your side, because it's about symmetry. They're going to kill you. You, of course, have the moral authority at that point to kill them, even to do a sneak attack on them, because they're the enemy, right? So in war, we have a context of how we actually kill people that changes the way it works. There's an enemy. The enemy has to be killed. They have to have their fighting capacity reduced or eliminated. So what we're looking at with cancel culture is a kind of soft war. A soft war that has been, that the conservative side didn't choose. It's been thrust upon us to have everybody get fired for their political opinions. And the reality is it goes way further back than people realize, because this was a thing back when I was in academia 20 years ago, was you could get fired for saying or doing certain things that were political, right? For having the wrong political opinion. And everyone was just okay and dandy with that, because even at a very conservative college campus, it's still going to be dominated by not just liberals, right? There's liberals who vote Democrat. They care about the Democrat agenda. They mostly agree with what the Democrats were doing, say, in the year 2000. The people in academia were they were already off the boat, right? They were already lunatic asylum level communist crazy. Like, they believed in the overthrow of the government. They would tell students that they should overthrow the government in unrelated subjects. I'm not just talking like history teachers. I'm talking like music teachers would say stuff like this, that Republicans need to be killed. You know, that the solution, of course, would be if we all rose up and killed all the Republicans. You know, you hear like philosophy teachers say stuff like this. I would hear this like in 2004, and you're like, okay, I should shut the hell up or I'm going to fail this class, because the fact is the teacher has you by the balls when you're a student. The students have actually very little recourse for what they can do. I kind of came into academia as like a teacher at a time when students were suing over grades, but man, you could lose your job. If I said the wrong thing, I could have lost my job. That's just the way it goes, you know. It's just the way it goes. So no, cancel culture is not good, but the fact is that if you have the opportunity to inflict harm upon your enemy, to act offensively upon, you're not really acting offensively. It's defensive. It's a defensive tactic to say, oh no, we're going to make that risk symmetrical. We're going to make that risk symmetrical. Then you need to do it. You're obligated to do it. Otherwise, you're basically just giving them a pass to continue what they were able to do because of your principles 10 years ago, which was to say whatever they wanted and you can't say anything. I don't have free speech on YouTube. I don't have free speech. I make this point. They're like, how can you be against? I'm not against free speech, but I don't have free speech, right? I don't have free speech. So me being for or against free speech is just kind of an idea out there in the ether. It doesn't apply, because the reality is that I don't have free speech. So for me to be for my opponent's free speech, I also have to have free speech. I have to be in the big tent. And I'm not in the big tent. I'm in the place where I'll suffer major negative consequences for half the things I say, whereas my enemy suffers nothing. No, we've got to make the risk symmetrical. From symmetrical risk, you can get peace that arises out of that. It's kind of sort of the threat of mutually assured destruction. I think the analogy I used was, imagine two cowboys, they meet out on the desert. Why don't they shoot each other? One could shoot one. They don't shoot each other because they both have guns. They're both, now, one might feel like, I'm a better shot than this guy, but there's a risk. And because the risk is roughly symmetrical, you don't initiate force. The reason liberals were initiating this sort of economic attack on their other side was they felt like they were in a safe place. They felt like they were in a place where they couldn't be harmed, and so they felt free to harm other people. And it worked. It worked for a long time. Canceling worked. It really hurt people. And I would love for it to stop, but it's only going to stop when the other side realizes that they're at risk too. And that includes Jimmy Kimmel. I'm sure there's a couple dozen people that are disappointed that Jimmy Kimmel's not going to be on the air anymore. I wasn't even aware that he still had a show or was still in media. I thought maybe he had retired. But I guess not. And so now he gets to retire now, which is maybe that's great for him. Maybe he'll have some time to reflect on what he's thought about. Maybe he has some kids he can spend time with, things like that, So anyway, now there are limits to the symmetry, because at a certain point, you like, there are deep moral principles that you as a person are not going to want to you're not going to cross certain lines, right? If the other side is like, we're going to rape everybody. Now, the response to we're going to rape everybody is not, well, we're going to rape you, right? So we don't need to do that. Rather, we engage in defensive tactics that prevent the raping, right? Like, you kill the rapist. Not like, I'm going to rape. There are certain times you don't need to cross that line, because you lose your identity, you lose your feeling of moral superiority, or you just think it's detestable. It's so detestable you would never do it to your enemy. That's okay to not do those things, right? But we're talking about getting people fired who are calling for your death.